They say every hotel has secrets, but some hotels keep their guests forever. Tonight's story is about one of the most haunted hotels in America, a place where checking in is easy, but checking out is impossible. On the edge of New Orleans, hidden behind tall pine trees, stands an old hotel called the Hollow Pines Inn. Built in the 1920s, it looks normal from the outside with faded walls, wooden doors, and a glowing neon sign that reads, "Vacancy, rooms available." Locals avoid it, whispering that room number 6 is cursed. Anyone who sleeps there never makes it to the morning. In the summer of 2021, four friends were on a long road trip: Emily, Ryan, Sophia, and James. Late at night, heavy rain started. They were lost. Their GPS kept glitching, and they desperately needed shelter. That's when they saw the glowing sign of the Hollow Pines Inn. They parked their car and ran inside, soaked from the storm. At the reception stood an old woman. Her skin was pale, her eyes sunken, and her voice cold when she spoke. "Welcome. Are you staying for the night?" The friends hesitated, but the storm was too strong. Without thinking much, they took the keys to room 6. The moment they entered, the air felt heavy. The room smelled of wet wood and something rotten. Old portraits hung on the walls, their painted eyes staring back like they were alive. That night around 2 a.m., Emily woke up. She heard scratching, like nails clawing under the bed. She woke Ryan, and together they looked. Nothing was there, but when they stood back up, they found something strange. On James's pillow lay an old metal key labeled Room 6. But weren't they already in Room 6? The next morning at breakfast, they met another guest. He was middle-aged with dark circles under his eyes, looking exhausted. In a low voice, he whispered, "If you want to survive, leave before sunset." Then he went silent, staring at his coffee. That night, Sophia felt someone breathing into her ear. A cold voice whispered, "Get out before she comes." She screamed, pointing at the mirror. Everyone rushed over. In the mirror's reflection, they saw the old woman from reception, but twisted. Her face was blackened, her eyes glowing red, blood dripping from her mouth. But when they turned, the mirror was empty. The next day, Ryan explored the hotel's library. He found an old guest book, dated 1930. It told the story of a maid who once worked in the hotel. She went insane. Every night she would kill guests in room 6, slit their throats, and hide their bodies inside the walls. Suddenly, everything made sense. The rotten smell, the scratching sounds, the whispers. Those weren't just ghosts. The walls themselves were full of trapped souls. Panicked, the friends tried to escape, but every exit they found led them back to room 6. No matter how far they ran, hallways twisted, doors moved, and the hotel trapped them in a never-ending loop. Lights flickered. The portraits on the walls began to move. The painted people were stepping out of the frames. James screamed as invisible hands grabbed him, pulling him into the wall. His body vanished, leaving only his cries behind. Emily and Ryan ran to the reception. The old woman was waiting. Her face was now monstrous, her mouth stretched wide. She hissed, "You belong to me now. Once you check into Hollow Pines, you never leave." The lights went out. The last thing they heard was Sophia's scream. The next morning, a new couple arrived at the hotel. The storm had passed, and the inn looked quiet again. At the reception, the old woman smiled and handed them a key. Behind her on the wall hung several portraits. Among them were 4 new faces: Emily, Ryan, Sophia, and James, forever trapped inside Hollow Pines Inn. So if you ever find yourself near New Orleans and see a glowing sign for Hollow Pines Inn, don't stop. Because once you step inside, you may never step out again. I had always loved old hotels, the kind that smelled like polished wood and old carpets. Last summer, I decided to visit a small town in the mountains of Arizona where there was a hotel called the Crestview Inn, famous for its vintage charm. It was quiet, isolated, and looked inviting. The receptionist was polite but seemed nervous, and when she handed me the key for room 12, she whispered, "Some guests hear things at night." Don't be afraid, I laughed it off. That first night, everything seemed normal. The room was cozy, with a fireplace and a large bed. Around midnight, I woke up to a soft humming. It was faint, almost soothing, but coming from the hallway outside. I got up thinking it might be a night cleaner, but when I opened the door, the hallway was empty. The humming stopped immediately. I tried to sleep, but then I heard footsteps above me. Room 12 was on the second floor, and above it was supposedly just the attic. The steps were slow, deliberate, like someone pacing. My heart started racing. I went to the window and looked out, but the street was empty, not even a car in sight. At 3 a.m., the strange thing happened. The old floorboard in front of my door creaked, and a cold draft swept through the room. My room smelled suddenly like burnt wood. Then I heard a whisper so clear I could not ignore it. "Leave now." I froze. The voice was deep but distant, almost like it came from inside the walls. I didn't sleep again that night. In the morning, I asked the receptionist about it. She sighed and said, "Many years ago, a man stayed here. He went missing from room 12. We've never found him. Some say his spirit roams these floors, especially the second story." My stomach turned. Later, while exploring the lobby, I noticed a small plaque near the staircase. "In memory of those lost in Crestview Inn." It listed 3 names, all dated decades ago. Suddenly, the humming returned, faintly. I left the hotel as soon as possible, but even in my car, I could hear the faint echo of footsteps and that same whisper calling me back. I never went back to that town. Even now, months later, I sometimes dream I am back in room 12, hearing the humming and feeling the cold draft. There is something in that hotel, something that does not want to let anyone leave.